The first decade of the 19th century was a time of extraordinary change and growth. We've got Napoleon conquering Europe. Beethoven's Eroica Symphony represents his admiration of the original idea of Napoleon, and then his disgust as Napoleon crowns himself emperor, and the famous tearing up of the title page of the Eroica Symphony in 1803 or 4. By the end of the decade, Napoleon's forces were actually in Vienna. So Beethoven started his Emperor Concerto in 1809 when the French were occupying Vienna. In fact, there was a moment where Beethoven had to hide in his brother Karl's basement to protect himself from exploding cannonballs. So the Emperor Concerto was written under great duress and is revolutionary in nature. Like most of his other pieces, we know it's Beethoven, but the content and the context out of which his material grows is different in every single piece. For example, the Violin Concerto starts with 4 strokes on the timpani, very quietly. It's a revolutionary beginning to a piece. This piano concerto, the Emperor, begins with a series of cadenzas. This had not been done before. Apparently at the premiere, somebody stood up and almost saluted and said, "It's the Emperor," meaning it's the Emperor Napoleon. This piece was not meant to reflect in Beethoven's mind anything to do with Napoleon. It's a piece of abstract music as far as we know. But there is a tremendous expansiveness and grandeur to it. The slow movement has got a tremendous warmth and gentleness to it. And then the last movement is like a syncopated dance. It's extraordinarily powerful. Complicated, musically complicated. And I think it would have been quite shocking for a lot of people to have heard this music at the first performance in 1812, I think it was. So this is music that was born out of a revolutionary period, and like most other pieces of Beethoven, has got extraordinarily adventurous qualities to it. The second half of our second classical subscription is going to be devoted to the music of Manuel de Falla and Arturo Marquez. This is a nice departure for us. We haven't done any Latin music for a while, and the Spanish music of de Falla is really thrilling rhythmically and also lyrically. There's a wonderful kind of brooding quality to de Falla's music from The Three-Cornered Hat. We're going to be playing the first suite. And this was ballet music. This was written during and premiered after the First World War. De Falla had actually gone to Paris from Madrid, where he grew up, to soak up the atmosphere of Paris. Before the First World War, there were a lot of ballets that were being produced by Diaghilev, the great Russian impresario. The music of Stravinsky had blown everything out of the water. Ravel was writing innovative things for dance too. And finally, Diaghilev approached de Falla to write a ballet, and it was this sort of folk tale, really. It's a miller and his wife. The local magistrate is trying to seduce the miller's wife, and there's a lot of comedy of errors in it, but the music is wonderfully open-hearted and obviously very danceable. The whole of this second half really is about dance. And so de Falla's music has got a lot of the lyricism, a lot of the color, which grew out of the pre-war music of Paris, but it's got also the flavor of Spain, the sort of searing harmonies and the lovely romantic melodies. It's all throughout all of this music. El Amo Brujo, the ritual fire dance, is another small piece we're going to be playing after the Three-Cornered Hat Suite. And this is a blisteringly exciting piece that's got the the kind of a sort of flamenco flourish to it, and a wonderful climax to the end. And then finally, to end the program, we're going to be featuring Marquez's Danzón Dos. This is the second dance of a series of dances that Marquez, who is approaching his 70th year now, has written over a number of years. In 2007, Dudamel took the Simón Bolívar Orchestra on tour, and they played this piece by Marquez, and it just took off. This has been played all over the world. It's got characteristic Mexican melodies and rhythms. It feels both sort of filled with folk music, but also sophisticated orchestral techniques. But it is such a fun and exciting dance. Marquez grew up and lives in Mexico City. He went to conservatory there. He actually studied here in California as well. And he's really been devoted to bringing Mexican folk music to the fore in his music. So this second half of the program is going to be a wonderfully exciting, open-hearted program of dance music.